Hey guys, can you guys hear me fine?
Yes,
Okay,
Deepika.
and let's get started. Okay, guys. Okay, so today we're going to talk about inheritance, and if we have time, we will talk about exceptions. So these are the two main topics that we are going to cover today. So let's get started. Okay, so what is inheritance in Apex? So, inheritance is a very important concept, and you will use it a lot, especially when you are creating any kind of frameworks or any kind of uh, loggings and things like that. You will use inheritance a lot. Okay, so as the word indicates, you inherit the properties just like you inherit your characteristics from your parents. Similarly, in the concept of inheritance also there is a parent class and then there is a child class. So what happens is if you want to get some characteristics of the parent into the child, you will use something called as inheritance. Now, the reason to use inheritance is you basically define your base characteristics in one class, which is considered as the parent, and then more what do you call specific ones in the child classes. Okay, so that is basically what inheritance is. You inherit the characteristics of the parent into the child. Okay, and here, so what is inheritance? Inheritance is one of the core concepts of object oriented programming. It means one class can inherit the properties. When it says properties, means the variables and methods from another class. So you have concept of a parent class as well as a child class. So you inherit the characteristics of the parent into the child. That is what inheritance is. Now, what is the purpose of inheritance? It helps you reuse the code because the common things you will put it inside a parent class, and then automatically the children of that class will inherit those characteristics, okay, those methods, those properties. So the benefit is the reusability of the code. You don't have to write the same logic again and again. You automatically you're inheriting it, and also maintaining the consistency. Common logic lives in one place. So that is the main reason why you need to use inheritance. Okay, so you build hierarchy of related classes. Inheritance is one of the main concepts of the object oriented programming. I think I repeated it twice, that's why. And so real world, you can think of in the perspective, think of a car, right? But there are different types of car. You have sports car, electric car. So usually all the cars have certain functionalities which is common across the board, and then you can have more what do you call is more specific ones which will have their own characteristics. Okay, so you don't have to redefine those characteristics again and again in those specific cars. You automatically inherit it from your main class, which is also called as the parent. Now, how do you go ahead and do inheritance in real world? So first of all, you will have, let's say you have to use some keywords. So you can see here, this is the definition of a class. I'm using the access modifier as public. Then virtual is something, the keyword that you have to use if you want to extend this class, means if you want to inherit from this class, you have to use this virtual keyword. If you don't use the virtual keyword, you will not be able to extend this class into the child class. And this is the class name, class keyword, and the name of the class. So this is how you define it. So first of all, the access modifier we are using is public, and then you will say virtual is the keyword you have to use if you are inheriting this class into another class, and then the same thing, keyword class and the name of the class. Now here you have defined one instance variable, which is public string brand. And then, yeah, is there anybody has questions? Okay, if you guys are not talking, please be on mute so it doesn't disturb others. Okay, so you have is a instance variable here called brand, and then you have these methods which are called as a start method and a stop method. And this is the child class. This is your parent class, okay, and this is your child class here. And inside of this child class, you basically have its own specific things. It has a variable called number of doors, and then it has a method called public void honk. But in reality, it automatically inherits these two methods as well, and this variable also, because you can see here we are using this keyword extends vehicle. So it says that, okay, car class extends from vehicle class. So vehicle is nothing but it's a parent class, and the keyword that you use is extends. Always remember that the keyword we use is a extend keyword. Okay, so now let's do this example. So if I go back here, and things will be much more clear. So let me go over to my.
Okay.
Somebody's address, if you can be on mute. Okay, so here, let's go ahead and do this class here. So I'm going to create a class called vehicle. Okay, and I have to, if I need to extend this class into a child class, I have to use the keyword virtual. Okay, otherwise you will get an error message. And then you are creating another class here, which is called as a car class. And this is your child class here. Okay. And inside of this, I am defining these are my methods and variables. So this is the one. And then in the car class, I am defining these two things. Okay. So if I go ahead, and you have to tell me the output of this program. Okay. So this is, I can say car C is equals to new of car, and I can say C dot of start, C dot of stop, and C dot of honk. Now, what is going to be the output of this program? This is the two classes I have defined. Now, the start method and stop method is not available. So I have to use this keyword extends from vehicle. Okay, so this is my parent class and this is the child class. Even though this child class only has one method called honk, but in reality, since we are extending from vehicle class, automatically the start method as well as the stop method are also present in the car class. Okay, so always remember that, but only the public ones or protect we won't go into the public. It has to be public. If the method is private, those things won't get inherited, because private things only belongs to this particular class only. So that access modifier has to be public, but there can be other modifiers, and we will talk about modifiers tomorrow, so I don't want to get into detail. But always remember, only the non-private will get extended. Okay, so if something you have created a method which is private, it is only accessible within this class. So those won't get extended into the child class. So now looking at this, what is going to be the output of this program? Write it in your chat window. I wanted to see everybody's responding. So this is the parent class and this is the child class.
Deepika, it has to be car too, the class name.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much. Yeah. So what is this is what in the start method, and stop methods, and then here is your honk method, and this is what I'm calling. So tell me what is going to be the output. I'm looking at everybody's chat here. Okay, so vehicle started, everybody wrote that. Okay, very good. Okay,
What is
so
that
as you can
honk
see here,
statement?
yeah, let me go back. So this is your debug statements. Okay, so this virtual keyword is important, and also you have to remember that you have to use extends vehicle. Now, if one class can only have one parent, okay, you cannot have multiple parents. I cannot extend from vehicle as well as extending from another class. So that particular type of inheritance is not allowed. Okay, so you can only have one parent. Okay, now if I say, I can also create the object of vehicle. So I can say vehicle v is equals to new of vehicle, and I can say here v dot of start and v dot of stop. Now, will vehicle class know about the honk method? Can I do v
No.
dot of honk?
No,
No,
no.
no.
No. Okay, I can only call the methods which are available in the vehicle, which is start and the stop. But I cannot call the honk method because honk method is available in the child. So if I go ahead and execute it, this is going to be the output of this program. Vehicle started, stopped, car honks, then this is the output. Okay, now here, if I go to the another important thing here, let's go back. Then there is a concept of method overriding. Okay, what is the meaning of method overriding? So we talked about method overloading in the earlier classes, where one method can have the same name but different list of parameters within one specific class. But let's say you have a method that is defined in the parent class, you want to have in the your own version in the child class, that is called as method overloading. So basically, when a child class provides its own version of a method that already exists in the parent class. So in the parent class also there is a method called start, okay, and in the child class also you declared the method called start. Now there are, you are inheriting one from the parent and you are inheriting that is already available in your child class. So this concept is called as method overriding. Now at runtime, when you're running the program, when you're executing, which start method will be called depending upon which object is on the right side. Okay, I'll give you an example. The parent class defines the method and the child class overrides it with the customized behavior. You can override a method only when the parent class method is marked as virtual or abstract. We will talk about abstract in a minute, but it has to be marked as virtual. So the method also has to be marked as virtual. Then only you will be able to override that method in the child class. The child class also has to use the keyword override. So there are a couple of rules you have to remember. The If you want to override a particular method from the parent class in the child class, then you have to use the keyword either virtual or abstract in the parent class, and in the child class you have to use the keyword override. That means you're overriding that method, and the method signature must match. Same name should be there, same parameters. That is called as method overriding. Method overloading happens in one class, whereas method overriding happens, one is in the, you need two classes for that, one a parent class and then the child class. Okay, so let's go ahead and see an example of method overriding here. So this is your so you can see here in the real world example.
Deepika, can you explain that method overriding one more time
Okay,
for
so
the
method overriding basically, let's say in the method overriding happens in parent and a child class. So you need two classes. One is the parent class and the other is the child class. If you have in the parent class, if you have a method, let's say we have a method called start. Okay. And in the child class also, you have a method called start, which takes in the same parameters. Everything is same. This is called as method overriding. When you when a child class provides its own version of a method that already exists in the parent class, that is what is method overriding. Now, in order to have method overriding, you
Just a
have to.
quick question right there,
Yeah,
it's gonna be the child method would be different from the parent method, correct?
child method will be different, but the signature would be same. So here also you will have, let me give you an example, then things will get more clear. Let's say you have a public void start method in the parent class, and then you have to make this method virtual. That is the most important thing in the parent class. So you say system.debug, I am a parent class method. Okay, let's say. And then in the child class also you have the same method, public override void start. You have the same method and it has its own definition of the start method. This concept is called as method overriding.
So which,
I guess
method is getting overridden?
the one from the parent class. You're
Okay.
overriding that method in the child class.
So you have to use virtual for the method as well to make it as
Yes.
overriding?
So, yes. So in the parent class, the method has to be marked as virtual.
Okay.
And in the child class, you have to mark the method as override. So these are the two keywords you need to remember. Class will always be virtual because you're extending it. The method which you want to override from the parent class into the child, you have to make that method as virtual. And also the child class marks its method, so you have to make that method as override. Let me give you an example, so then you will understand it better.
And then there's a scenario where you don't want to override the parent
Then
method, right?
yes, yeah, you don't have to always override. Only if you want to provide your own version of the method, then that is called as the method overriding, where you're using redeclaring, redefining the same method which exists in the parent also in the child.
And you'll show us what that looks like, correct?
Yes, one minute. So here, let's say in the parent class, you have a method called a common method called calculate text. This is the method that is available in the parent class. Now the in the child class, if it is a US customer, you will calculate the tax differently, so they will have their own version of the calculate tax method. For the European customers, you will have another thing called VAT, right? You're going to calculate VAT, so they're going to have their own version. So this is called as method overriding, when you basically child class have their own version of the parent class methods. Okay, so let's go ahead and let me show you here. So this is a example. So let's say this is your parent class. Okay, public virtual. So this class needs to be marked as virtual because you are going to extend this class into other classes. So you said public virtual class, parent class, and then this is your method called greet method. So if you are want to override this method, you have to use the keyword virtual. That's why I'm using the keyword virtual. This is your parent class. Okay, now inside of this, you are saying system.debug hello from the parent class. And now you have a child class which extends from this parent class, okay, which extends. So because it extends from the parent class, it has two methods now. One is the greet method that is coming from the parent, and one is the greet method that it defined itself inside of this child class. Okay, so so in this case, p dot of greet, when I say p dot of greet, which greet method will be called? This one or this one?
I think child.
Child one.
No, if I say
So
this
parent
one,
class, then a parent one.
this parent one, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm
Yes.
Yes.
saying p dot of greet, and always look at the right side. Okay,
Okay.
don't worry about this side, always look at the right side here. Okay, if I say, because I can also say parent P is equals to new of child class. I can say that. There's no, because child class is a type of parent, right? So I can say that. Now, in this case, if I say P dot of greet, which method would be called? Will it be called the one from the parent or one from the child? If I say parent P
Now
is equal
Now
child,
child.
actually.
to
Child.
the child, because which object you are calling it. So that is plays an important role. So the greet method from the child class will be executed in this case. Okay, so this is how you define inheritance. So always look at the right side. Now if I say child C is equals to new child and I say C dot of greet, which method would be called, the parent class or the child class?
Child.
Child class.
Child class. I cannot say child class is equals to new parent. This is wrong.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, Deepika, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, in the you said that the child and the parent and the child method parameters should be the same, right? So, for example,
Like yeah.
so you had shown us the example of the tax, like U.S. tax has must be have a it should have some other different variables, and the European tax have a different variables. So, how does it? The
No,
parameters
I didn't
won't be
say
the
different
same.
variables. So in that case, it is not method overriding.
No, the
So
different parameters. So,
no, so
for
then if it is
example,
different parameters, then so for example, let's say you defined, let's say you have a parent class in which you defined a calculate tax method. Okay, calculate tax method. And inside of this, basically, inside of this method, you are doing taxes being calculated by 8.25% into tax. This is, let's say, into your sale amount, whatever it is. This is in the parent. Now in the child class, you have the same calculate tax method. Okay, and that method here, you're saying tax is equals to 10.25 into your sale amount. So this method is basically, you're overriding this method. Here it is 8.25 into the sale amount, here it is 10.25 into the sale amount. So this has
yeah,
its own version, this has its own version. This is called as
yeah,
method overriding. But if you had string A here, and here you don't even have a parameter, then this is not method overriding,
okay.
even if the
So,
method is calculate tax. So you have to
okay, that's
use
what
the
I'm
same
trying to
exact
understand.
signature. Yeah, you have to use the same exact signature.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
okay.
So now we'll do all the edge cases also. So let's go ahead and do this example, a
What,
very
just
simple one.
real quick, you've mentioned signature twice now. What's the example of signature? What in this scenario? What's signature look like?
Signature looks like this thing. How you define the method. This is called as method signature. Public override void greet. This is your method signature. Signature, nothing is how you have defined your method. This is your signature.
Okay.
Okay. So now this one you understood. So let's go ahead and just run this example. So we did this, and I have to declare a method. File new Apex class, call as parent class. Okay. And then here you have a method. So I have to make this class virtual. So that is important. And I have to make this method public virtual void greeting. Okay. And here you are saying system dot debug, and let's say we have a message, string message, hello from parent class plus of message. Okay, and then here we will define a new class here, file new Apex class, child class. Click OK, and then we say extends from parent class. Okay, and here you are going to define the same method, and instead of virtual you will use the keyword override hello from child class. Okay, now if I say debug inside of this, if I say parent p is equals to new of child class, and I say p dot of greeting, and here I say Deepika, and here another one I say p is equals to new of parent, and p dot of greeting Akshay. So what is going to be the output of this program? Everybody write in their chat. Oops, good job, thank you. I had to do this. Right, now give me the output. Sorry about that. Okay, so now this looks correct. Now, if I go ahead, let me execute it. So the output is going to be this. So hello from child class and hello from parent class. Now, if I go ahead and remove this, okay, so from the child class, if I get rid of this and here, so now I am changing the signature. The name of the method is the same, but I'm changing the signature, and you can see it basically gave me an error saying override specified for a non-overriding method. So now since you have changed the signature of the method, this method in the parent class is expecting a string variable data type as a parameter, whereas in the child class, I didn't use that parameter. So since this is not an override, and that's why you are getting a error here. Okay, so in order to avoid that, if you go and do like this, what's going to happen in this case, it understands this is a different method. This is a completely different method, because this method is not expecting a parameter. This method is expecting a parameter. Okay, so if I go ahead and execute this,
And also it is not using the override, right?
Exactly, it's not
Mm.
using. So basically, if I use override, I have to use the same exact signature. That is what I'm trying to say. If I'm using the keyword override, that means this method exists in the parent and I'm overriding it. But greeting without the parameter doesn't exist in the parent. Okay, so what method exists in the parent? Something that accepts one parameter. Are you getting my point? So you have, when you're overriding a method, you always have to define the same exact method in the child class. You cannot change the parameter or anything in that signature. It has to be exactly matched. That is what is called as method overriding. Okay? Are you getting my point? Guys, you have to say yes or no.
Yeah.
Yes, Deepika.
Okay, now let's go ahead, and another important thing is a keyword. So let's say there is a keyword called super keyword. Okay, so the super keyword in Apex basically to is used when a child class wants to access something from the parent class. Okay, so if you wanted to call the parent class constructor, okay, or if you want to call a method of the parent class inside of the child class, you can basically use the keyword super dot of whatever that method name is. Okay, so if you're calling the parent class constructor or you're calling the parent class method in that inside of your child class, you can use the keyword super in there. Okay, so now here, this is my example. I have a class called, this is my parent class, public virtual class vehicle. Okay. Inside of this, what is this?
So Deepika, that means if it is not forward override, still we can use it with the super keyword.
If you want to call the method of the parent class, then you can use the super. So yes, in the override, if you want to call, so here, let's say I want to call both the methods. So if I go back here and let me delete this. So this greeting message is this plus of M. And here inside of this greeting, I also want to call
Okay.
the super,
Parent one.
the
Mhm.
parent one. So I can do super dot of greeting. And here I can say Ramya.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this will call, what will this do? This will call the parent class greeting method inside of this. So what will be the output of this program, guys?
Uh, Greeting from the parent class, and then it will write hello from child class and whatever we are passing to it.
Yes, so here, whatever we are passing. So here we are passing M as Deepika. So it'll say hello from parent class Ramya, hello from child class Deepika, and then again period greeting hello from parent class Akshay. Okay, so if I go ahead and execute this, so this is how you can call parent class Ramya, hello from child, and hello from parent class Akshay. Okay, now
Deepika, there is a request on the chat from Ravi.
okay,
Yeah, so since it's late night for him, so he's not able to ask
okay,
questions. So yeah,
okay. So
He has a question
yes,
as well in the
okay.
top.
What is the question?
Yeah,
Okay, let me.
there.
Can you type?
No, I think it's there,
Where is
Deepika.
it? Will
It's
we get method not found if we do v dot of honk is invoked? Okay, so let's go ahead and what was that class? Vehicle class, right? File open. I don't remember. Let me go back and
yeah,
then
it's
the
a
class,
vehicle parent class and
vehicle one, and
car
then
two,
the car
car
one, right?
car
Car
two.
two, file two, and then here you have car two. Okay. So here, if I say in the anonymous window, he is saying to call car two, no, what is it? Vehicle. V is equals to new of vehicle. And here we say V dot of, no, he wanted the parent class one, right? No, V dot of honk. So if I do something like this, okay, execute, let's see what's going to be the output. The honk method is available in the car too, not in the vehicle. So here, if I do it, let's see what's going on. It says method does not exist or incorrect signature. This is the error you're going to get if you do something like this, because this method is not available in the parent class. It's only available in the child class. Okay. Was that his question?
Yeah.
Okay. So here saying, can you highlight the example of parent class and superclass? Also, what is the constructor and methods of the parent class? Okay. So I didn't quite understand. So Rosalina, do you remember constructors when we talked about constructors?
Barely.
Okay. So you need to revise what you're teaching, right? So I'll give you an overview. Constructor basically is used to, okay, can somebody tell me what constructors are?
Used to initialize the data basically.
Exactly. Okay. And what is the definition of a constructor?
Same as the class name.
Very good. And does it have a return type?
No.
Okay. So basically, let me explain to you, Rosalina, but you have to go back. I'm not going to go into the detail, but let's say we have a employee class. Okay. We have an employee class. And inside of this employee class, you have a couple of things. You have a name, name of the employee, the age of the employee, and email of the employee. Okay. Now,
Variables.
these are the variables, right? And then you have a, so when you create employee, E is equals to new of employee, what happens? What happens is a constructor, a default constructor that is given to you by Salesforce gets called behind the scene, and it basically puts name as null, okay, and age as basically null, and email as null. Basically, it is creating the variables and initializing them with null values. But while the creation of this, during the creation of the object itself, if you want to initialize some values, okay, you want to create, let's say, then you will create a constructor. So constructor has the same name as the class name. It doesn't have any return type. Okay, so it has the same name as the class name. So this is how, this is a constructor. Employee is the name of the class. The constructor will also called employee. And let's say it takes in 3 parameters, n, a, and email. So here what you're going to say, you can say inside of this constructor, name is equals to whatever you are passing in n, age is equals to a, and then email is equals to E. So what happens is now you will go ahead and say E is equals to new of employee, and you will pass in those values. You will say employee name is Henry, age is 21, and email is henry@gmail.com. So during this creation of this object, now you have some values defined for your instance variable. That is the purpose of a constructor. It is used to initialize the instance variables during the creation of the object itself. So you're creating an object. At this point, if you, what was happening, you were getting null values for all these instance variables. But during the creation, if you want to initialize them, this is how you create a constructor. So at the runtime, this constructor will be called, and Henry will be passed to name, 21 will be in the age, and this email will be set up in this. That is the purpose of a constructor. Are you getting my point, Rosalina?
To the point where I'm thinking, is the constructor, it sounds like the constructor, as you've initialized it, is static because it's Henry 21 and an email. So that's unique.
That is unique for this employee.
Okay.
Okay.
And,
Now
and
you can create another employee. You can say E is equals to, you can say employee E2 is equals to new of employee. And we
okay.
can go ahead and
So
say,
that's the example of how, when and why you would use a constructor.
yeah, so you have another employee, Deepika, age is 35, deepika@gmail.com. So this another employee you created will have its own instance variable values.
Yes, you're initializing static
These,
variables when you're leveraging a constructor.
this is not a static variable, this is an
No,
instance variable.
no, the other one, the employee, the other two examples.
So this is where you're creating the object. There's
Right.
nothing static here. Static means it's a completely different meaning. We're creating two objects here, one with the values of this, one with
Hard
the
coding?
values of this.
Maybe I didn't use the right word. Hard coding?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can, right now it's hard coded.
Yeah.
But
So when you're using a
instead of
constructor, you're
null,
hard
you
coding.
have some values defined.
Would that be accurate? If you're, when you're leveraging a constructor, you're hard coding the system.
No. Okay. See, okay, understand. When you are leveraging a constructor, you are basically setting up some predefined values for these variables. You are constructing a proper object. Here, the object that you are constructed has null values. Instead of creating an object with null values, here you're actually creating an employee with the name proper, with the age proper, with the email. So there is a constructor with good with some basic information
Okay.
during the creation itself.
Okay. It doesn't necessarily in this usage mean that you're hard coding.
Yeah, don't worry
Okay.
about hard coded. I could be passing account dot name as well. That is not a problem. But what I'm saying is when that object is being created, it has some values for these
Sure.
variables
Yeah.
other than null
Okay, so that's the use case for constructor. And then when
for
you
a
tie it in,
constructor.
now
When you
that's
want to initialize the instance variable values during the creation of the object itself. So here we are
I got it.
creating the object and we are
Yep.
initializing the values for those variables.
Excellent.
Deepika,
And then
here
tie
employee
into
NAE is the method, right?
No, employee is the constructor, NAE is the parameters that is accepting.
you've parameterized.
Exactly. This is a
that
parameterized
concept.
constructor. So I'm
Yeah.
passing a string variable, a integer variable, and an employee, a string again.
Yeah.
This is the method. This is a constructor. Method will always have a return type.
And
It
Debica,
will,
I'm sorry.
huh?
I was going to ask, how does it get, in other words, the list? So how's the constructor, does it call that list of those employees? How does it do that program-wise? I mean,
Okay,
there's got to be a list of
get
those,
like
of each employee, like the employee
We
one, employee
pass
two,
them.
one's
Those
the actual
values are being passed into
values.
parameters.
see here, this is where
It's
I'm
similar
passing
calling
values.
like we call a method. When we create
Right.
an instance, we create it that way by passing those methods or by
Passing
passing those values.
Yeah. So you see
Okay,
here, so during the creation, I'm passing Henry 21 and this. So what is created? This is being created. So this employee got created with the name as Henry, age as 21, and email. So this N, whatever I'm passing in N will store in name. Whatever I'm passing in A will be stored in age. And whatever I'm passing here will be stored in email.
right. But what I'm saying, in other words, how do you get, in other words, when it constructs it, how does it get those values for employee one, employee two? How does it construct it? It's got to be inputted from somewhere, right? So
Oh,
where's it
these
getting those
values?
values? Yeah.
Okay, these values you can pass from a flow, like a form. These values you can get it from a form. It could be anything. We are not
Okay.
talking, yeah, like
Okay.
let's say a user fills up a form
Okay.
and user puts a name. So we will say, okay, read the value from the name and put it into this parameter.
Okay. So it's calling that form or that
Yeah,
list where it's getting
from
its
the
input
form
from.
you are
Okay.
calling this class. In real world will be like something like this, that okay, there is, if some that data is coming from somewhere.
And
Or
that
a
data would have
spreadsheet or
been
something
for
like
in
that,
this
or
instance. I'm sorry, Teresa. I'm sorry, or Nancy. I'm sorry, whoever's speaking. Henry at 21. Those variables would have been the user inputting, right, entering those
Exactly. Yeah.
that data.
Enter into the form and then you can create so like remember the example of the sheet that we created. Okay, read the data from the CSV file. So you can use it from the CSV file
Okay.
and create
Okay.
objects. So it could be
It's kind of
anything.
like a holder. It's a holding place.
This is okay. The purpose of a constructor is basically to have some initial values set for these variables
And
rather than null.
those values are what are they? I don't want to be presumptuous.
These are called as instance variables. These are called as instance variables. And these, you are passing these values so that they can be present. You can initialize. Initialize means when you're creating the object, that those objects have some values for these instance variables rather than
Perfect.
having null values.
So the values are essentially arbitrary inputs to the system.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Values could be anything, can be coming from a different class. It could be from a different class. You don't I'm just giving you an example where I'm hard coding this, but in
It could be
real
coming
world,
from a different system
they
altogether.
could be, yeah, it could be from a different system.
Okay. Got it. You need the variables as the placeholder to put
Exactly.
the values.
You need the variables to put this. The constructor
The
is
values.
expecting 3 parameters. You have to pass those 3 parameters.
Okay. And it could be several parameters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And that's the concept of
Constructor. Parameterized constructor.
parameterizing. Okay.
Yeah. But there's a little bit more in constructors. So I would recommend you watch that video on constructors. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the baseline though. So how does
This
that
is
tie
just
back
the baseline.
into the super and the super class?
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So now if there is a parent class, right? Now, if in the parent class you have a constructor, so let's define that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that example. So okay, we did this, this. So this one we saw that we call it. Now here, inside of this, let's do this one. Okay, now we have a public void, and so public vehicle, this is a constructor, right? And inside of this constructor, I'm just displaying something. I'm not initializing anything. I'm a parent constructor. Okay, I'm a parent constructor. Let me know if there is a question from anybody in the chat, okay? I'm parent constructor. So this is my, this is the constructor I have created. And now in the car example, here also I am creating a constructor, public car2. And then here, system.of_debug.
Do we need to override it?
What is
Or
it?
using, if we need to use the super keyword, do we need it to be a overridden method, or in any
No,
method?
overridden is only for the method. If you want to override a method.
Okay, so we don't need it here, right? Okay.
No. So now here, if I say vehicle B is equals to new vehicle, and then here I say car to C is equals to new car 2. So what is going to be the output here? What will happen when this is getting called?
Parent constructor for the first one.
Okay, and then?
I'm child constructor.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I go ahead and execute it, I'm seeing 3 lines. Now, why do I see 3 lines? Okay, so I'll tell you. When you don't provide, so this is a constructor, right? This is your
Yes.
child class constructor. So automatically there is a line gets added called super dot of the if it is a non-parameterized constructor, that will automatically be called as part of this. So that's
Okay.
why when I said this vehicle V is equals to new vehicle, this line will print only one statement, which is I am a parent constructor. Okay, but this line, on the other hand, this line will print 2 lines. First, it will call automatically the parent class constructor, and then it will print this line, I am a child constructor. Okay, so if I get rid of this and only do this part, what's going to happen? It is first going to call the parent class. It is a default statement that is available. It is going to call the parent constructor, and then it is going to call the child constructor. But if in the parent class you had a parameterized constructor, okay, then in this case you don't get the no argument constructor, right? You don't get that no argument constructor, because if you remember, once we create any type of constructor, you don't get the no argument constructor automatically. So now if I try to execute this program, this is going to give me an error because the first line was super dot of parent class constructor, but there is no default constructor. So what do I need to do? I need to create another constructor here which takes it no parameterized, because, or I have to, inside of this I have to do super dot of, okay, I have to do super, and then I have to basically pass the message called as typical. if I do something like this, then what's going to happen is I'm going to get rid of this. So I have one constructor defined, and inside of my car2, I am calling the parent class constructor, super Deepika. Okay, so here, what it is going to do, it will call this constructor. So this is going to be printed. So if I go ahead and execute this statement, let's close this. And if I execute, first the parent class constructor will be called, which is I'm a parent constructor. And then the child class constructor would be called. Are you getting my point? So basically, the super is the first statement in the constructor. And this will call the no argument constructor by default if that constructor is available. Okay, so this is your parent class. It will call the super. But if the parent class does not have a no argument constructor, it is going to result into the error. So you have to make sure you write a super keyword and call one of those constructors of the parent class. Or you have to have a no argument constructor available in the parent class if you have your own constructor. Are you getting my point? Or no? Okay, good. So first of all, I'm going to go, now you have to give me answers. So if I go ahead and I create another thing, and here I'm saying, okay, now tell me if I go here and if I do this, and if I do this, what is going to be the output of the program? So this is my child class. Okay. This is my parent class. So what will be the output here?
I am no argument constructor from parent, and then from the I am a child constructor.
Is everybody agrees to that output? Okay, so Ravi, is there a good reason why it calls parent constructor when child object? Because that is how the programming language works. Because in order to create the child, they think parent class constructor needs to be created first, because child inherits everything from the parent. That is why the first thing is it will call the parent class constructor, and then it will call the child class constructor. That is how it works. That, okay, first the parent needs to be initialized, then the child would be automatically initialized. So now what is going to be the output, guys, of this one? One person said this is going to be printed, and the other person says then this line will be printed. Why not this constructor? Because this is also a constructor. What will be the output?
Because
Should I answer?
it takes the because it takes the argument, and we didn't. It takes the message, but we didn't give the argument to that.
Exactly. So it will automatically call. If I didn't have it this argument, what will happen?
Then it will give an
Then
error.
it will
Error.
It will give an error. Excellent. So you guys are following me pretty well. Good. So if I go here, debug only, so I am no argument constructor from parent is called, then I'm a child constructor is being called. And then if I remove this, okay, if I comment this piece of code, this is going to give me an error because the first line is expecting the no default constructor. But if I would have explicitly called the no argument constructor, then what will be the output? Now what will be the output here? Oh, wait a minute.
parent class Johnson and I'm the child constructor.
What will be the output?
I'm the parent constructor Johnson and
Very good. And then
I'm
this
child
child
constructor.
constructor.
Okay. So remember this. The first it will be the parameterized constructor would be called, and then the child constructor. So that is the purpose of the keyword super. First, either to call, if I have to call the parent class method. So if in this case, inside of this vehicle, let's say honk, right? So inside of the honk, if I want to call the parent class method called start, okay, if I need to call this, what is going to be the output of this program if I do cc dot of honk? What's going to be the output here?
We execute both statements or only cc.honk?
So it's going.
You have to tell me the output. So first, what will happen at this line?
In this line, first I'm the parent constructor. I'm child constructor Johnson, and then I think it'll car honks beep beep. No, this,
What
no,
about
it will.
If it is
It
having
will.
a parent constructor, it will first do. But no, it won't because we are not passing a parameter.
No. So what's okay? So car cc is equals to new car2. This is going to call the constructor, right?
Yes, yes.
So when I came to this constructor, the first statement is Super Johnson. So it will call the parent class constructor, this one. Okay, so it will say I am parent constructor Johnson. Then it will execute I am child constructor. So far, 2 statements. Then we are saying cc dot of honk. So in this honk method, the first statement it sees is super dot start. So start method, what is their vehicle started? This is going to be displayed on the screen, and then this line would be displayed. So 4 statements will be displayed. So if I go to execute, debug only, first it will call the parent class constructor, then the child constructor, then vehicle started, and then car honks. Okay, now I did. Now what will happen?
The
Error.
center.
What's going to
Error.
happen?
Error.
Why would be an error?
Because super always has to be the first statement.
That was in Java. Let's see the execute here. Here, this super dot start will be there. In the case of constructor, yes,
Okay.
but not in the case of method.
Only for the constructor that it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super always has to be the first statement.
Only
Okay.
in constructor. Okay.
So let me double check on that one because I want to make sure I don't speak something wrong. Yeah. First statement in the constructor method, but it is not the case in the case of the method. Okay, so this is going to be this, and then here you are calling the car honks beep beep, and then your super dot start, which is basically the start method vehicle started. Okay, so if I go ahead and execute it, if I execute this, the output is just going to be honk honk and then vehicle started. Okay, did you understand so far?
Can you explain the error that we got of?
The error we got was I moved this super statement at the second line in the constructor. So the rule is super should always be the first statement in the constructor method. Okay, so call to super must be the first statement. So this one, I put it in the second line. That's why it is erroring out. So here, if I say this, it will work fine. Okay.
But that's not the case with the method calling, right?
That's not the case with the method calling. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Now, the next thing we have here is the abstract keyword. So abstract keyword, basically any class that you have called an abstract, you cannot create an object of that class. Okay. So an abstract class cannot be instantiated, means you cannot create the object of a abstract class. So if you try to do new of abstract class, this will give you an error. Okay. What is abstract method? Methods which don't have any body, just declaration is there. Those are called as abstract method. An abstract method does not have a body, which means if I say void display, and instead of providing this body, I basically say void display and a semicolon, this is an abstract method which don't have any body. Okay, there is no body for the abstract method. An abstract method does not have a body. It only define what must exist in the child class. So basically, anytime a class extends this abstract class, it is the responsibility of that child class to provide the definitions of that abstract method. Are you getting my point? So let's say you have a parent class. Okay, and inside of this parent class you have a abstract method called as abstract void display. So you have to, since you have an abstract method, you also have to mark this class an abstract class. Okay, so void display, and here there's no definition. In abstract class can have abstract method and non-abstract methods also. Means some methods are defined with the body and some methods don't have the body. It can happen both ways. So now, if in the child class, if I say child class extends from the parent, then it is the responsibility of the child class to provide the definition of this void display. So I have to go ahead and say void display and provide the definition of this method inside of the child class. Okay, it only define what must exist. So if you want certain methods to be implemented by the child class, that is when you are going to create an abstract method in the parent. So whichever class extends from this parent class, it is the responsibility of that class to provide the definition of those methods. Okay, and a child class must implement or override that method. Now, what is the purpose of using abstract classes? Force the child classes to follow a structure. If you want that, okay, the child classes should have these methods, should provide the definition of these methods, you will basically, it's like having a template, right? And you're forcing that template onto the child class. And it is very powerful and useful in frameworks when you are designing a trigger framework or your API frameworks. Then these abstract classes or this inheritance concepts is very, very powerful. Okay, now let's do an example of abstract. So here, if I go to this one, so now you can see I have a method called, I've created a class called abstract. Okay, that means if I try to do new animal, this will result into an error. This is wrong because abstract class object cannot be created. Inside of this, I created a method called abstract void sound. It has no body. Okay, it ended here with a semicolon. Now in the child class, I am extending from this animal class. Okay, so it is the responsibility of this dog class to provide the definition of this method, and that is what this is doing. Okay, and you have to use the keyword override in it because it's kind of like overriding. So what will happen is, so when you say animal a is equals to new of dog, okay, and you say a dot of sound, what will happen in this case? What will be printed on the screen?
Dog barks.
Dog barks.
Okay, because abstract method, and then this class can have non-abstract methods also. It doesn't always have to have abstract method. It can have a combination of abstract as well as non-abstract methods. So if I go back, go to the next here, abstract is like a template or blueprint for child classes, have both implemented methods and unimplemented methods, contain variables, constructors, common logic, and be extended by only one class at a time. So you cannot say something like this. You can't say class C, let's say there's a class called C, extends from A comma B. This is wrong. you can only extend from one class at a time. You cannot have more than one parent. Okay. And I'll tell you what is the reason. Why do you think you cannot have two parent inside of the child class? So this is parent one, this is parent two, and this is your child. Now there is a reason why they didn't allow. So let's say you have a run method here and a run method here. Now when I say new of child, and I say C is equals to new of child, C dot of run, it will be confused which run I need to call. Do I need to call P1's run method or do I need to call P2? So in order to avoid that confusion, they basically said we don't allow multiple parents. There's only one parent is allowed. Okay. So always remember, it can only be inherited one class at a time and you cannot have more than one. Okay. And it can have variables, constructors, common logic we will define in the abstract class, and the object of abstract class cannot be created. So now let's do an example here. So here we will create a class called payment. Sorry, I'm using today. I was just didn't feel like opening my Visual Studio Code, so I just used developer console. I hope that's okay with everybody. So here I have a method defined, and the moment you define an abstract method, also you have to define the class as abstract. Okay. So now I create another one, and here I call it credit card payment class, file new Apex class credit card payment. Okay. And which extends from payment. And inside of here, I say this. And here I will say PayPal payment. So you have to give me the output of this program. I'm not telling you. Rosalina, are you following? Are you there? Did she drop? Okay, so now here, if I execute this, okay. So now, first of all, I'm trying to, let me see, let me open this again.
Deepika, maybe you can answer after this, but can we also make it as an inherited class, or it can only be an abstract class at a time?
No, I didn't understand. So if you have an abstract method, you have to mark the class as abstract.
Yes, got you. And can I have other method? I mean, if
Non-abstract method?
of course, non-abstract we can have, but how do I say it? Can I write it as inherited too? I mean, like the definition for inheritance, we override it, right? Some methods. So can I use both the things in the child class or no?
I still didn't. Okay, tell me what you want me to do here. So there is an abstract method. Now what do I?
No, in the parent class.
This is the parent class.
Okay, this is the parent class. Can I even write virtual here?
Virtual for what?
So that I make it as an inherited class. I mean, the child class can
So
be
when you say
inherited.
abstract, that means somebody needs to extend this class. So you don't have to use abstract and virtual together.
Okay, so if I have a non-abstract method over here, I mean, it is going to have a body, so I can override it there. I don't need that virtual thing
No,
written
so
here.
here, no, here, if
It
you say
automatically
public
becomes
void,
one.
no,
Okay.
public void no, that's not the case. If I say public void display, and here I say public virtual. That means if you want to override this method, you
Right.
can. Okay, if you don't want to override it, then you don't have to use the keyword virtual. Okay, I am parent class display. It depends. Are you planning on overriding this method, or you're
Yes,
not?
that was my question. If I have to override, then even in
Then
the
you will
class
say
definition, do I need to do it?
in the method definition.
Okay, it will be only in the method.
Yeah.
Okay, got
So
it.
here I'm going to say public override void display system.debug I am from PayPal payment display. Okay. So now in this case, if I say P1 dot of display, this there, P2 dot of display. So first tell me what is going to be the output of this program. Payment has this. Payment class looks like this. Okay, then you have credit card payment. And then this is your PayPal payment.
Okay, P1 dot process statement will have the method in the credit card payment. So it will fire that processing credit card payment.
Okay, this one will fire the processing credit card
Yes,
payment.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Then
And in the abstract,
and if I say yeah, then what will happen?
and for P2, it will again override it. So processing PayPal payment, and I'm from PayPal payment display.
Very good. Not from the payment. And
No,
if I
because we
say,
have overwritten it.
yeah, if I say P1, P2 is equals to new payment, what this gonna happen? And if I
The
say,
parent one will be displayed.
guys, I told you, if it's an abstract class, you cannot create an object. This is
Oh,
gonna
shit.
result into the error.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have to remember that abstract class object cannot be created. I'm only hearing answers from one person. What's going on with others?
We are trying to process the information.
I'm sorry, I'm
Is it-
quiet today. I missed a couple, so I don't want to disrupt the class. That's why I kept quiet. Sorry.
My
Okay,
computer
but are you
crashed and I
following
had to
it?
rejoin.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, Rosalina. I had a question for you. Are you following this?
My computer crashed and I had to
Oh.
reboot. My apologies.
Oh my God. Okay, so you missed a little bit.
Yes,
Watch the
ma'am.
videos. Any problem, I'll come back to you.
Okay, guys, please, I request you, you guys are paying me. Make sure you're taking full advantage of this class. Listen to the recordings. I know it's 2 hours long, but before you come to the class, you should always brush up what I've taught in the previous class. That way you will remember it. And another thing is do the assignments that I'm giving it to you. You can use, now you can start to use a little bit of AI because the assignments are getting a little bit complex. But you should still understand what AI is giving you. You should understand that, okay, whatever the AI has generated are those right answers. Okay, don't use everything for AI, but if some of the problems look a little complicated, you can use a little bit of AI. Okay, so in this case, first of all, payment P1 is equals to new credit card payment. So it will call the process. So now I'm saying P1 dot of process payments. It will call this method. Then I'm saying payment P2 is equals to new of PayPal payment. So this will call P2 dot of process payment is this method will be called. And then I said P2 dot of display, this PayPal payment display method is going to be called. So if I go ahead and execute this, we are going to, if I go here, this is going to be the output of the program. Okay. Now, the next thing we have is very important, and that is interface. Okay, the only difference between an abstract class and an interface is that all the methods of an interface are abstract, means they have no body. All they have is method declarations. Okay, so whoever is implementing this interface, it is the responsibility of that class to provide the definitions of those methods. Okay, interface is a pure contract. It is just a contract. Basically, if you want to follow a particular template, or if you want the methods should appear like this, the name should be this, you pretty much put all of that template inside of a interface. Okay, so all the methods in an interface will be abstract. It only defines what a class must do, not how. So there is no definitions. All methods in interface are implicitly abstract. They won't have any body. So no body. You can see here there is an interface I created, and you cannot have variables except constant. So constants is the only thing you can have inside of a interface. Means it has to be constant values. Constant values means they should be static and final. Okay, anything that you call it as static and final, that means you already know what static means, right? We talked about static variables. So final means once you have declared the value of that variable, you cannot change the variable's value. Okay, so for example, let me first explain to you what a constant is. So if I go back here and if I say integer, okay, let's say we have variable integer num1, okay, it's 10, and then I say final integer num2 is equals to 20, and if I say system dot of debug num1 plus of num1, and then here I say system dot of debug num2, and then here I say num2, and then system, and if I say num2 is equals to 30, this is going to be wrong because I have declared this variable as final. Final means once I have set some value for this variable, I have set the value of num2 is equals to 20. I don't want to change that. I cannot change it. So here I'm trying to put a new value for num2. This is going to give me an error. Okay, so if I go ahead and execute this, it's going to say final variable has already been initialized. So once you have defined some value, you cannot change it. I can change the value of num1 as many times as possible because it is not a final variable. But this is a final variable, which means once you have initialized it, means once you have set up some value for that variable, you cannot change the value of that variable. Okay, that is what a final means. Understood?
Deepika, is there anything called as constant in?
No,
No?
we don't
Okay.
have that.
Okay.
There is only final here.
Yeah, so
Okay,
it's similar
final
to
is
constant.
basically a constant. Final is
Oh.
basically a constant. Okay. Now, so similarly, in the case of an interface, you can only have variables which are static and final. Okay, and just like in the case of abstract class, as I mentioned, you can only extend from one class, whereas you can implement from multiple interfaces. And then the keyword that you use is implements, not extends. Remember that. So here you defined an interface called animal. Okay, and you can see here it only has this abstract method void sound, and then here dog implements animal means it is the responsibility of this class to provide the definition of this method. So here it provided the definition. Then there is another class which also implements animal, so it is also has to provide the definition. So whoever is implementing that interface has to provide the definition of that method. Is there anybody in the class who is not coming from programming and able to follow me? Because I know somebody who's from programming, they can follow. But somebody who's completely new, are you guys following me? Is there anything you want me to repeat?
Yeah, I'm able to follow you, Deepika.
Awesome. And you are from non-programming.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Anybody else?
I mean, here's the thing. It's not a matter of not following, because when you do address our questions, I do understand. And in the class, collectively, we all have questions. And so when you do repeat and you do take the patience and the effort, I understand. I don't understand the first time, and that's going to be expected, because this is, coding,
Yeah,
which I've
completely
never
new.
taken before. So it
Yes,
doesn't
yes.
matter what language it is. I could be studying Spanish or French. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm studying AI, Agent Force. So I don't know any of that stuff. So it's just a
Yeah.
matter of putting in the time. And you are right. If you're not going to do the videos, and if you're not going to, dive deeper and actually practice and take notes, and, you're not going to understand this stuff, not even by lecture. So that's my bad. And I will fess up to that. So with everybody else, I don't know their lives, their schedules, their time commitment, but to me, the questions that are being posed are helpful.
Okay, good, good. I'm glad. Just it's all about practice, guys. So whenever you get time, I know life can be busy, but whenever you get time, and also another thing, guys, I am doing a weekday class as well. So if somebody needs repetition Monday to Thursday, you let me know. I can put you in the weekday as well if you prefer a weekday class instead of weekends one. Okay. So, but it is quite behind because I just started it. It's only 3 days and the class is only 1 hour long. So if somebody wants to
Okay, I
switch,
saw that email come through. It starts at
yeah,
8 p.m. CST.
it's
Is that
8
accurate?
p.m. Central in the evening.
And then we can join that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If you want to be repetitive, if you want things, or
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Thank you
can,
so much for that. That's very helpful.
yeah. Yeah, so I know because there are a couple of people who wanted to join that than the weekends one. So I won't expect everybody to switch over to that. But if there is something that okay, you want every day and you just want an hour a day, Monday to Thursday, so 8 o'clock Central Time. So just text me,
Okay.
and I will put you in that class. Okay.
So
Hey,
along with
hey,
that, can we
Deepika.
continue
Well,
this as well, or is it only one, either one of them, Deepika?
You can join multiple. I
okay.
don't care about these things.
So that's it.
So,
Join whenever we have
so
bandwidth. But you're holding that time slot at 8 CST Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
Is it structured?
so
Thank you so much. Yeah.
What somebody was
hey,
asking. Yeah.
Is it structured?
so the
Yeah, it is basically following the same material,
Okay.
and but we are quite behind. We are on, I believe, only methods we covered.
That's awesome.
So
I need that. That's a great
yeah,
place for
so
me to
if you
look
want
up
to
that.
like join that one, you can join that one.
Okay. And then I was going to post here quickly. Where is this slide deck? If you just
This
share
slide
with-
deck I haven't put it because this is a brand new
Okay,
one I
gotcha.
created today. I'll
It'll
put
be
it
in
in
the drive.
same
It'll
drive.
be in your Google Drive shared.
Yeah, I will
Thank
put
you.
it.
so Deepika, so this interface is a class, right?
Interface is different than a class. So here you see, I am not using the keyword class anymore. I am using the keyword interface.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
interface is different than a class. Okay, interface doesn't have any methods defined. All it has is just a declaration. This is void sound. This is just a declaration of the method. All the methods in an interface are going to be abstract. Okay, so if you implement that interface, that class needs to provide the definitions of those methods that are in the interface.
Deepika, can we call interface as a blueprint as well?
Yes, interface is also, see, interface is a template, not a blueprint. Blueprint means okay, the design. Class is, it's a template. So when you
Okay,
have
yeah, because it is not
So
having
what is
variables and all.
so what is the difference between the class and then I mean I know class has methods and the definition, but okay, so in this the methods uh,
He has no implementation.
There's no implementation. So let
Yeah.
me tell you the difference
doesn't
here.
have any definite.
Yeah,
It
it
just
won't
okay.
have
Doesn't have
Now you
any
implementations
asked me,
and
what
not
is the purpose? What is the purpose of an interface?
definition.
Right? The purpose of an interface is, why do you follow a template, right? You want to adhere to some rules and regulations. You want to have methods with these names. You want to have some, you want to make sure that all the classes which is implementing stay within these boundaries. That is when you create an interface, means you create a template. Okay. So the difference between an abstract class and an interface. So first of all, to share common behavior. So in the abstract class, you can have some methods which have body, some methods which don't have body. That's why we call it an abstract class. Whereas in an interface, you basically have all methods which are abstract, okay, to define a contract or a rule. That is when you're going to use an interface, okay? Why this is not working? So contains implementation, can have implement methods, but only in the case of interface, they're only going to be method declarations. There's only going to be the declarations of the methods. You won't have any method body in an interface. Okay. Variables are allowed. Yes, in variables are allowed, but only constants in the case of in interface. So you can only have constant variables, not a instance variables in an interface. Okay. And just like you cannot create an object of an abstract class, you cannot create an object of an interface also. Because what is the point, right? It has no definition. So what is the point of having any body? So what is the point of creating the object of an interface? So you cannot create object as well. Constructors, you can have a constructor in the abstract class, but no constructors in the interface. Okay. Inheritance type, single, means one class can only extend from one parent class. You cannot have multiple parents. But in the case of interface, you can have multiple implementation. One class can implement from an interface A as well as from an interface B. So in this case, what will happen is, let's say you have an interface A. This has a run method. Then you have a interface B, which has a display method. Okay. Now I say class C implements A comma B. So what C has to do? C has to provide the definition of run. C also has to provide the definition of display, because whoever is implementing these interfaces, they have to provide the definition of those methods available in those interfaces. Are you getting my point?
Yes, and we can
Who's
pass
they?
any parameter. So
Who's
we can
they? I'm
pass
sorry.
any. Uh,
Okay, one at a time. Okay, let's go with Rosalina. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead. What was your question?
No, then we can pass number of parameters, right? Any number of parameters in the implements class, right? Is that,
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
implement
No, no,
method,
no,
right?
no. If the method declaration has parameters, if the method, see, you always stick to the declaration. If the method declaration has a parameter called string m, in the implementation also, you are going to have the same parameter. Okay, the name can be different. Here I'm using m, here I'm using p, but
No,
the when I say it has to match exactly, because if one method takes no parameters and if one method takes two parameters, they are two different methods. They are not one method, even though the name is same.
no. Okay, that's not
What
my
is your question?
question.
What is your question? If I think I
So,
didn't get your question.
no,
So let's, huh?
my question is, you're saying in the interface you don't have any method parameters, but you're in the class implements method, so can we pass any number of parameters, because that's where we are defining the that's
No.
where we are declaring
See, in the
the
interface,
parameters,
I
right?
never
So
said you can't have parameters. Method can always have parameters. What I'm saying is the method doesn't have a body in an interface.
we can't
When you
implement
say
it.
body, means there is no functionality defined. What this method is doing, I have no idea. There's only a
okay,
declaration.
okay,
Okay, so let's
okay,
do an example here. But
okay.
Deepika, I have a question.
just a minute, let me finish this. So if this run is expecting a variable m, then the class which implements this interface also has to provide the definition of this method. Okay.
Okay, I got
This
it. I got it.
parameter.
Okay. Okay, I got it. Okay, that's what
Okay.
my question. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Now, what was the question? Somebody has a question for
Yeah.
me?
So Deepika, is it that interface can be our first parent class and then everything follows? Like suppose vehicle can be our interface, and from that we can create cars, trucks, this, that, everything. And
Yeah,
does that work?
you can do that. But the only difference is in vehicle, if you create it as a class, abstract class, you can have some methods defined in the interface in the
Interface.
abstract class. But here in the vehicle, you will only have bodies of the methods. No
Right.
definition. Yeah, but you can do car, you can do bike, etc., all implementing this vehicle class.
Okay, so it can be either an interface,
Or it could be a this.
abstract class.
It can do both also. It can say class A extends from class B, implements class C. That is also allowed.
Okay.
This is also allowed.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Rosalina, what was your question?
I was just more on semantics when you said they. Who's they?
Oh,
Sorry.
they means
I'm not
so
going to get technical.
it basically just like I don't know what that they means. Is just trying to explain.
The inputting of the system, whomever like is passing.
Yeah,
these
whoever is writing the class, whoever is writing that class, a developer is basically have to implement that interface.
Okay.
Okay, because you are going to be writing that class, right? You're going to be writing an interface. You're going to be developing that extensions that you're going to. So you have to provide. You are responsible for providing that.
So I never knew that you could create an interface inside of the dev console. I know you can create test classes, triggers, but I've never seen like where do you
File new here. If you go to this one, and let's say I created, what was my class here? Let's go back. I did payment. I did log transaction. You did all this interface. Okay, payment processor. All I can do is it will create a class for me, but I can change this to an interface. Okay. So here, if I do this, now tell me which, so if I go ahead and define this interface, okay, and then if I go to the PayPal implements, file new Apex class, PayPal payment, was it PayPal payment? I'm just going to do PayPal. I'm just going to do PayPal. And then here, if I say implements, what does this implements? Payment. No, what was the payment processor? So if it is an interface, you have to use the keyword implements. If it is a class, you use the keyword extends. Okay, let me get rid of this. Now tell me why I'm getting an error without looking at this. Why am I getting an error?
Because it's not an interface. It's not an interface. That's why
it is an interface.
The methods are not defined.
Exactly. The methods are not defined because in this interface, I have these two methods declared. Okay, void process payment and void refund payment. I have these two methods declared. So it is the responsibility of this class to provide the definition of these methods. Okay, because I am implementing this interface. If I was not implementing this interface, I don't have to worry about that contract. But the moment I say implements payment processor, now it is the responsibility that, okay, I need to provide the definitions of these methods. Are you getting my point?
Does a class always have to have a method?
That is the purpose for the class, is to have a methods and variables. You can have class without the methods also, but then it's not serving any purpose. Right? You can have a class with just variables. It's okay. But then if you want to do anything, that class is basically might not you can just create a class with some constants. You can do that. But usually you will see classes with methods also. But here I am implementing this interface. Since I'm implementing this interface, I have to provide the definitions of these two methods inside of my class.
Right. So when you're using extending and coding, you need, again, in the sense of creating the interface, right? You need to at least have a method from the class, at least one. I know, let me repeat. So in the sense of creating an interface, which you just demonstrated.
This is an interface. It has no body of any method.
Right. You need to have it needs to coincide with a class, correct?
Yeah, because you have to have a class which implements that interface.
That makes sense. Like you can't just have a standalone interface without a class, and a class in this scenario should contain at least one method.
No, not at least. It has to have all the methods of this interface. I can't just do this one. I can't just say only one method is defined. No, since this payment processor interface has two methods declared in my PayPal class, which implements this interface, I need to provide both the methods definition.
Okay.
Okay. So here, then I have this one. This looks pretty simple. So now if I go to if I have another method, another interface, let's say, okay, this is a payment processor, and then give me a name, processor. Let's just do processor.
Refund, maybe.
Okay. And then this is again an interface. Okay. And here I have a simple method, void display, and it takes in string of, I'm going to make it public, void display string of message. And here I'm saying system.debug. Oh, this is an interface, so I can't have a definition, but here. So now if this one implements, PayPal processor implements this interface processor, now what do I need to do? I also, implements and then comma. This is how you do it. Now here I need to provide the definition of this method. Okay, so because this is, so inside of my PayPal, I have to go ahead and provide the definition of this display method. Okay, because I'm implementing both these interfaces.
For the payment processor interface, you did not use the public.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
No, for the payment processor.
One second, I'm trying to understand why there is an error here.
Message.
No, it should be okay. I can use
using
any
string once. I don't see it being used again.
Okay, what does it say? No, what is it saying here? Expecting.
Your other method doesn't have string.
No, I'm trying to save processor class. A public void display string message.
It needs brisk brackets.
But what's this? I had these brackets. What is wrong with this?
No, the brisk brackets, the method. Do we need to have empty body or?
Public void display. Let me see. That's never the case. No. Let's do this.
No, the brisk brackets after that they become after the round brackets. Opening
that
and
means you have a
closing
body.
brackets.
No, so if I say public
so
interface,
do we need
so
it? Yeah,
here,
that's what I was asking.
So this one, void refund payment. Yeah, there was no error. It just was complaining.
Public?
Yeah, you don't have to. So this one says public void.
Yeah, if you write public, it's complaining.
Oh, why? Oh, by default, it is public and static. Public, yeah, that's why you probably don't have to use. Why can't I use? Let me see. I think by default it is like that. That's why. Then you don't have to explicitly say. Oh, so they are implicitly public. This means you do not explicitly use the public keyword. That's why you don't have to use the keyword public. By default, they are public. Okay. So now this is the refund. So here in my PayPal, I have to provide the definition of this refund. Okay. So here I can say system, and here also system.debug. I'm in refund. Okay. So I provided the definition of this. So depending upon how many interfaces you're implementing, all those methods you have to declare inside of your class. But if this class was abstract, okay, and if this class was an abstract, then I don't have to declare all the methods. Okay, I don't have to provide the non-abstract class. So if I go ahead and say file new Apex class and I create a non-abstract class, non-abstract, then if I say non-abstract extends from, what is the name of the class? PayPal. Let's see what happens. So now it has to, non-abstract must implement the method processor.refund. So inside of this, there is the method that has not been implemented is refund. Which one method is not implemented? So in the non-abstract, you're extending from the PayPal class. It has the definition of process payment. It has the definition of refund payment. The one that it doesn't have the definition is this one. So here I have to go ahead and define this method inside of this non-abstract. Because the other two, it was able to get it from this abstract class. Are you getting my point?
Okay, Deepika, can you please explain again?
Okay. So basically, let's say I have a class, okay? And there is an interface A and interface B. Okay, we will take this example. So we have payment processor. Okay, this is an interface, payment processor. This is an interface. It has a method process payment. Okay, and it has a method refund payment. Whereas this is payment processor. Then you have a processor. This has a method refund. These both are interfaces. This is an interface. This is an interface. Now, if there is a class, okay, and if I mark this class as abstract, it doesn't have, and if I say abstract class PayPal implements this interface, then it is not the responsibility of PayPal to provide the definition. Are you getting my point? Means if I go ahead and remove this, it won't complain because this class is an abstract class. Are you getting my point? So, but if whoever is extending from PayPal, it has to provide the definitions of those methods. Sorry. Are you getting my point? So any non-abstract class is responsible to provide the implementation of those methods which are declared in the interface. But if you mark this class as abstract, it doesn't have the responsibility of implementing it. But if any class which extends from PayPal, it has to provide the definitions of those methods. Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
Are you getting me? Okay, so that is the main difference. So here I have to say public void refund, and you can do this. So that is the main thing. So this covers everything about abstract classes, interfaces, and all of that. And another
Deepika,
important, yeah.
one quick question. Can you go back? If we write the methods in the abstract class, will it throw an error?
No, it won't, because abstract class can have abstract and non-abstract methods.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so one more example I have it before we end up. So there is a payment gateway interface. Okay, so you have to give me the answer. So I'm going to close all of this, file, new class, and I call it as payment gateway. And as I mentioned, this is an interface. And you remember interface has the constant variables, public, static. So this is by default, everything is public inside of an interface. Okay. Now, first of all, why I'm getting public static constant value.
And is the reason why it's defaulted to public is because you have to have a class when you're working with interface.
See, if you don't create a class, and if its interface is sitting, it's not going to throw an error. But then what is the purpose of that interface? It's not serving any purpose. So
Right,
always you will have a class which will be implementing from that interface.
Okay, but the two go hand in hand. Like
the two go hand. Yeah.
And
So
Deepika,
now,
you had mentioned at that time that there cannot be any variables in interface.
no, see, if I remember,
No
Final.
variables in interface declaration. There
only
was a statement.
constants. Only constants.
Okay, it
So
can be a constant. So it is a static one, that means?
that means static and final. Remember the
Okay, so we need to
variables.
make it static.
So here I'm trying to say, but it should be automatic, public static final.
What if we don't make it final and keep it only static?
It was going to give you an error. See?
Okay.
So it's going to give you, by default, I believe it is going to be, I'm trying to make it, if I try to get rid of this, public static final, and then I use
Just
the
we need to
Okay.
remove public
Public.
and keep final.
No, static.
Maybe it needs either a static or a final.
No, it has to be either it is
Both?
taking it from by default. I believe it has to be by default, but let me see. Decimal string has a semicolon, has a constant. It is, but was equals to. Wait a minute. You don't have to, because it will work.
I think only final.
No, it probably must be constant. So if I say, it'll again complain.
The only first one is complaining.
No, it just looking at that error, but it is going to, let me see. By default, they are static and final, so you don't have to put it. So I'm trying to understand why it is giving, this is an interface, public interface, payment gateway.
No, when you wrote final, the last two statements were not complaining.
No, it is,
Only the
you don't
first
just
was.
go by this error. Expecting was. You have to define the variable values. Something is wrong with this. Let me go and take an example. Interface with variables in Apex. Yeah, you don't have to define. Yeah, so this is the one. It is a primitive types. Let's see. They haven't defined a variable inside an interface.
But what I'm noticing is that there's a double parenthesis after the variable.
Where do you see it?
Go up, double discount. The first example, double discount. Right.
No, this is a method. This is a method declaration, this is a method declaration. You see, this means this is a method. Whenever you see parentheses, this is a method. But I'm trying to declare is a constant. So here it is giving me variables must be constant. So here I don't have to provide decimal is equals to 10.0. Currency is equals to, I have to see why it is giving an error. It should have worked. And Ravi, do you know? What am I missing?
It says remove public, please. But like,
no, see, in the case of and the methods, I am not using public. So by default, every method in an interface is a public method.
he has something in the chat, Deepika.
Oh, he has? Okay, let's see. What is he saying? Even with that, it's not working. See, it says constants. This is working for him. Why is it not working for me? What is wrong with my declaration? Public interface
Deepika, when we copy from Word document, there might be some special characters or formatting things which
Oh,
are
that
not
okay.
visible
That
to
makes
human eye.
okay, that makes more sense now. I was like, what am I doing wrong? Now I'm trying to do this. Okay, let me get rid of this. Okay, so now I say string name equals to Deepika. No, even this is giving an error. Why? Did you initialize the value?
Just make it uppercase.
This one? And if I say ये तो अभी भी नहीं चल रहा.
No, it's not even working for me. I tried creating an interface.
Public static
I
final.
tried everything.
Yeah, so it should have. What's going on? Does Salesforce work? Guys, I am 200% sure it should work. Let me just copy what you have told me, okay?
Actually, AI is saying that you cannot declare instance variables directly within an interface. Interfaces in Apex are designed to define contract. So you shouldn't. So I don't know how.
No, this doesn't make sense because we just saw.
Actually, yeah.
Let me see.
Change the name of the interface. Maybe there is something existing or something. If you
No, then it should have complained of a different error. So if I say this. Yeah, the error is to do something with these two things. Maybe it's they changed it that you can't have any.
Ravi, you just created that interface.
I think don't just go by the AI. I think interface cannot have. Can a interface? Maybe they updated something. Can an interface have constant variables in Apex? Yeah, looks like you can't. You cannot have that. In Java you can, but not in Apex, looks like. So I'll take that back. This is not right. Only constants. This is not right. Variables are not allowed. In class it is allowed, but not in interface. And if something doesn't work, I'll let you know tomorrow. But I think you cannot define a constant even in interface. Okay. So now in this case, if I go ahead and go to Stripe payment, file, new, Apex class, Stripe payment, and if I say implements, payment gateway 2, what do I need to do in the Stripe payment?
Implement the
Define
methods
the
from the
methods.
interface.
Define both these methods. Okay.
Yes.
So I have to go back and get the definitions of both the methods, and I will define it inside of here. Okay. And this is not going to work because we don't have it. So we're going to just say system.debug process payment, not just one method. Okay. If you don't do that, it will complain of the other method. So you have to define both the methods. Sorry, not here. I was doing it wrong. Inside of here, you have to define your method. Okay.
Deepika,
And
sorry to
similarly,
disturb, but
yeah.
About the variables, doesn't it make sense that we shouldn't be having variables at all in interface, since we are not at all going to write anything, we don't have a body?
No,
So
but in
declaring those variables doesn't make sense.
No, variables can make sense because just like I think they changed this.
But I mean, how does it is useful declaring it there? See, I'm not at all having any logic there. So if I declare a constant pi 3.14, what am I going to do with that pi over there? It's a constant.
You can refer it. You could have referred it, but now I think it doesn't work anymore. So you can just, yeah, like here, they can refer these interface variables inside of your class.
Exactly, inside of my class where I'm going to implement a logic.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think I'm still trying to figure out when did this happen that you can't have a so what happened here? Yeah, I don't know what went. You can't declare why this is giving an error now. Oh, you don't have to use the keyword public, so just process payment because it's automatically. And here I'm going to define this. So if there is a, so this works fine, public void process payment. If there is another one, you will have to define that also inside of your class. Now, if I made this class as a, if I would have made this class abstract, then I don't have to provide the definition. So any class which implements a non-abstract class has to provide the definition of those methods. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so tomorrow, guys, I was hoping to cover exceptions today, but don't worry, tomorrow we'll cover exceptions and we will cover SOQL statements. So if you want to read about them, good for you before you're coming, or if you can brush up on everything we have covered so far, that'll help. Okay, so that is it for today's class. If you have questions, yeah, Ravi, what's up?
Deepika, I just had posted a question in the chat. Although you have not covered it, but it is very common to read in other people's code.
What is it?
It was like, let's say you are defining an instance variable. After that line at the end, you say in curly brackets, get a semicolon set. So let's say you want to write public string name.
Okay, let's do this. What were you saying? Okay, let me take a notepad.
No,
Okay,
in this class only. In this class only, you can write.
In this class, I need to write
public string name.
Okay.
Don't define the value is
Okay.
equal to John. Just say in curly braces, get semicolon set.
Oh, the getters and the setters.
Yes.
Okay, I have to cover
And there is
that.
a variation of it. If they can also mention, yeah, semicolon here, and then they can also mention access modifiers before get and set. That does something, but I do not know. But it's very common. Like
Oh, you
I
don't know what this
generate.
does?
No. I have an idea that
Yeah.
it is making this property as readable and settable from outside the class.
Yeah. So basically, you get a get name and a set name.
Yeah, it's a
When you do
shortcut.
something. This is shortcut.
So
But how
does
do
that mean that we haven't defined any methods? Normally in Java, what we do, we define our getters and setter methods, right?
yeah, here this
But here
shortcut
we
will
are not doing that.
yeah.
It's a shortcut
So
for
this is a
get
shortcut for
separate
that.
and set separate.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I can cover. We can do a small. This is a good one because you'll see a lot of this in Epic. So we can talk about it tomorrow. Getters and the
It's a
setters.
very important thing because if
Yeah.
let's say there is no in Java, when we define a set method, let's say I'm just giving an
You want to
example,
check.
but you will
Yeah, you want to check the value if it's going to put a proper value or not. That's
yes,
what
we
we're
do a
saying. Yeah.
validation. There is a
Yeah.
very classic example called cat. So
Yeah.
let's say you are making a cat. Okay.
With the
Now a
size 0.
cat cannot have age 0. So the
Yeah.
moment you
Yeah.
give age 0, you say you cannot create a cat. But how we are doing a validation in this case?
Inside of this. Yeah, I think we do. I have to brush up on this one, guys. I can do. I
Okay.
probably should be able to. Yeah, let's talk about this get and set tomorrow. I believe you can. In that case, you probably have to define your own getter and setter if you want to put some validation. But they might do a basic check. I may be wrong. So let me check on this one.
But Deepika, yeah, we can always research about it and then come to us. But what I was thinking is that in spite of us not mentioning get and set, we still were able to set a value and read it outside in anonymous window.
Because you made
So
it
why?
public.
So why then get set is mentioned?
Because
If public
the
is doing
method,
that, public string name is enough.
the method is gonna be public. Let me see.
Yeah, later whenever you have basically revised
No,
that.
I have to revise this one, to be honest with you. Get and set. Let's just, because this is an important thing, let's talk about it tomorrow before the exception
Okay.
class.
And
Okay?
just one more request, Deepika. For that assignment B3 in what you are saying is created. Why do we use is created?
Is created means, was it a create operation or was it an update operation? To check that.
Okay, so we
So
have
if you're
to
doing an upsert,
use.
no, you don't have to. If you're doing an upsert, there should be an update and insert, right?
Yeah, it's about upsert. You are.
Yeah. So that's why if I want to see was that create, it's just a method. So if you just want to see was this a create record created or was this an update operation? Just for that, there is a method called to check for it is created.
Okay.
It's only in the upsert observation though.
What is it?
It's only available with the upsert to know whether it is a
Depending on the
created.
database,
Yeah.
I think the result of it is upsert result. What was the data type? Yeah, it's in there. It was called database.
For upset, it's database upset.
No, that I know, but it is absurd result, right? That was the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So inside of this, there was a method called is created. This is not available in, I believe it's not available in save results. This is specific to
Yes,
upsert.
It is for this one.
Yeah. So it just checks, because in upsert you can do an update and an insert. That's why you had is created to check whether it was an whether it was a create operation or was it an update operation. Were you guys able to do the sheet with the CSV file with the check on account and all of that?
I'm getting few errors, Deepika. I'm trying to fix them.
Okay, good. Errors are fine. As long as you can, and because I told you for that you can use a little bit of AI because it will give you some idea, but don't just, even if you're following AI, you should understand what the AI is giving you because not always it's going to give you the right results.
Yeah.
Okay. Ravi, anything else? Will you be attending tomorrow's class?
Actually, what I wanted to ask is that if you can see how we wrote it and maybe suggest your 2 cents.
Okay, so then send me your resumes. I will take a look at it on Monday and
No,
let you
not
know.
resumes. This
Oh, sorry, not
specific
resume, the results, the assignments.
Yeah.
The assignment. It's way past 2 hours, so I don't know what I'm saying.
We all do
Okay.
not know anything. So what will you do by employing us?
No. I don't say that. Okay, I'm teaching you guys, so hopefully you're getting some value out of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So no. I'll take a look at it on Monday then.
And
Okay.
can you upload this video from today? Because I missed part of it in the beginning. Can you upload
Sure,
it?
I will.
Great.
Let me, because it will take some time to convert this video. So I'll give you at least a quick access to the video. Okay.
Deepika.
Thank you, Deepika.
Thank you.
Deepika, since there is a student who has to stay so late awake, and if everyone's time zone permits, is it possible we can start a little early?
I'm
Early,
not
right?
sure you want to change the schedule though. That would affect a lot of this.
Yeah, that's why I think
Okay.
changing in the middle would be hard because everybody's kind of used to at 10 o'clock. I
That's
don't mind it, but yeah, because everybody is set up on 10 o'clock, so I don't want to change it at this point.
totally fine.
Just a
Okay.
question, Deepika.
Okay.
The next week is following the Thanksgiving week, so class is still off, right? Or
It's going to be okay. You guys tell me, guys. It's Thanksgiving is on. No, next week is not Thanksgiving. 27th is the Thanksgiving.
27th is
Week after,
Thanksgiving.
yeah.
Yeah, the
I
week
think we can
after.
still
oh, sorry.
We
still
can
have
still
on
do
the
it. We can
weekend.
still do it, right? Because the week 27 we're not doing a class. 28 you're gonna get a holiday. We can still do a class on 29th and 30th. Right?
Oh, yeah, 29, 30. Yeah, that's what
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if there be a lot of students taking off, then I can cancel it. But if people can join, it's just a matter of 4 hours, guys. We also need to finish our syllabus, so that's why I'm trying to make sure we do
I
have
won't be able
database
to join.
methods. What is it?
No, I won't be able to join, Deepika. So it'll be better if we can keep the next week.
Yeah,
So that I'll
because I'm
get to
asking
attend the
because I
live
also not
class.
available on that week.
So you're talking about 29th weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be
Okay,
better
so
if we can take next week.
yeah, only because it's a Thanksgiving weekend, I'll cancel it. But if it was a
Yeah.
regular weekend, I won't cancel it.
Yeah, thank you.
Just for a couple of students. Okay, that's
Thank
fine because I know people have plans and all that, so that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll cancel the weekend class, and I'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Deepika.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.